What's up, guys? It's your boy Slowbeersy here, back with another video. Today it's just gonna be a very short video. It's just 5 things I like about my camera and 5 things I dislike about my camera. Also, I wanted to throw this into one of my first few videos for 2023, only because I wanted to give a thorough product review of the current camera setup that I have coming from a Canon user. Wait, there's nothing in here. How are your guys' 2023 going? If you see shit in the background, don't mind that. That's just old stuff from when I was a kid. Anyways, let's start off with 5 things I like about the camera, and then we'll transition over to 5 things I dislike about the camera. So my current setup right now is I'm using a Sony A7II with a 28-70 lens, stock lens from Sony. I'm also using a Rode VideoMic Pro. Now there is a plus version of that microphone, but it was just way too expensive for me, and I thought the Pro was the better route because I've used the Pro before on my previous camera setup and it's never failed me, so I kept on with using the Rode VideoMic Pro. Sony A7II, first things first, it was a pretty cheap camera to begin with. I got it from Best Buy for only $999.99, so basically $1,000. Best Buy was having a sale. It was $300 to $400 off. That's why I purchased this camera. Second thing, it's a full frame. I used to use a Canon 80D, which was my old setup, and it was a crop sensor. I'm actually glad that I upgraded to the Sony A7II because it's now a full frame. Third thing, it captures great pictures. It's really good with shooting videos in terms of megapixels. I believe this is a 1080p 30 frames per second max if I were to shoot video on a Sony A7II. My Canon camera was also 1080p at 30 frames per second, but I could also switch over to 60 frames per second. Only difference was it was a crop sensor and this is a full frame sensor. Shooting vlogs on this full frame sensor allows me to capture more quality and render in more quality. From the past vlogs I've done already this past 2022, starting in August, video quality on this camera was tremendously better than my Canon camera. The third thing I like about this camera is that it's way smaller than my Canon 80D. My Canon 80D body was pretty hefty and pretty big. I also had bigger lenses, and so it would add on more weight. And I am enjoying the lightweight feel of this camera, and it's just so simple. The fourth thing I like about this camera is that when I'm actually shooting pictures, I can adjust my APS-C mode. I've only recently just found out about this, and it is by far the most helpful tool so far on the camera. If I wanted to shoot pictures in APS-C mode, I can switch in settings and switch it over to APS-C mode, so when I use my 35 1.8, it can be a 50 1.8. Continues to sip when there's no water in here. Lastly, the 5th thing I love about this camera is how easy it was for me to switch from movie mode to picture mode, movie mode to picture mode, movie mode to picture mode, back and forth. Also includes memory buttons. I have different preset memory buttons I can switch and use up. If I'm shooting certain pictures in certain lightings, I hit C2, which allows me to shoot like at night, at darker aesthetics. And then my other modes would be car pictures, automotive photography would be somewhere with brighter ISO, brighter temperatures, etc, etc. And those are 5 things I like about my camera. Now, 5 things I dislike about the camera. Ooh, this is a good one. First thing, the screen does not flip out like my Canon 80D. The screen can only flip out vertical. It cannot go horizontal, and I can't like see myself as I'm vlogging. So all I have to do is just look at the lens, and the whole entire time I'm looking at the lens. But to be fair, there's a plus side to that, because when I vlogged on the Canon camera, I was always constantly looking at the screen, making sure that I'm in focus. Half the time that I was vlogging, all you guys are doing is just watching me look at my screen coming back towards me. But yeah, that's the first thing. The screen doesn't flip out, so I can't see myself. Second thing I dislike about the camera, the battery life is it's garbage. It's trash. I would vlog for an entire day and the camera battery would deplete right away. Same goes with pictures too. If I take pictures for a whole entire day, the camera will die on me. Battery usage for vlogs and pictures, I want to say it'll last me, one battery will last me an entire day, and that's pretty much it. Third thing I dislike about the camera is the fact that because it's still a full frame and it's an upgrade from my Canon camera, it's actually the same megapixels as my Canon 80D, which is I think 24 megapixels or something. I don't remember the specs, but the same amount of megapixels on the Sony is the same as my Canon camera. But to be fair, I did cheap out. I bought the camera that was on sale. Fourth thing I dislike about this camera was the adjustment from switching over to using a Canon camera to using a Sony camera. The functions are way different on the Sony versus the Canon camera, but straight up the Canon camera, once you pull it out of the box, you can take it out and then shoot right away. For the Sony, I have to like play around with the camera, find out how to adjust settings, find out how to adjust my ISO, aperture, shutter speed, white balance, balance, temperature, picture style, cine style. I'd have to go through all the entire menus, and there's actually a lot in the menu mode that I still haven't learned about this camera. The fourth thing I dislike about this camera is it only shoots 1080p. I would have gotten myself a 4K camera, but the price range between getting a 4K, or let's say for example for the A7 III versus the A7 II, the price range was way different. So yeah, that's the fourth thing I dislike about the camera. It doesn't shoot 4K and it can only shoot 1080p and in 30 frames per second. If the background noise did get quieter, it's just because my heater just turned off. I had the heater running because I'm cold. Last but not least, the fifth reason why I dislike this camera a lot is because the lens option that I can get for this camera is almost triple the amount of what Canon lenses are. If I were to buy myself a nifty 50 1.8 lens on a Canon, that's gonna cost me roughly about 120 to 130 bucks. If I were to buy a 50mm for 1.8 for a Sony, that's gonna cost me roughly about 250 to 300 bucks. And I spent a grand total of $850 for this Sony 35 1.8 lens, which is a pretty decent lens. I love it. I had no issues with it. It's just for something this small can cost $800. It's crazy. And for me to get a 24 to 70 G Master lens, that's gonna cost me like almost 3 grand. I'm like, money thrown away at this camera. Am I gonna get more lenses for this camera? Yes, I am. Is it gonna hurt my bank account? Yes, it is. Anyways, that's 5 things I like about my camera and 5 things I dislike about my camera. Now, if you guys are new and you guys want to get into a basic starters kit for vlogging, I would suggest and recommend the Sony A7II with a Rode VideoMic Pro Rode microphone. Am I gonna keep this camera for long? Probably, but I'll be saving up so that way I can get myself a better camera, and I'm thinking of getting the A7 IV, which is a godly camera. Great for pictures, great for vlogging. It is on the heftier side, so it is heavy, but screw it. And it has 4K. Thanks for watching today's video. I know it's not a vlog, and I know I'm probably boring you shit talking about my Sony camera, but I assure you, this video is helpful for those who are slowly starting to get into like vlogging and taking pictures as well. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next vlog.